Alright, Sistas fans, we're talking Season 4, Episode 14, Money is King. 7 out of 10. Had a great time watching it live tweeting, and the live stream went great. It seems notifications went out. We were on there for almost an hour. Thankfully, no tech issues, like no buffering or anything. I think somebody said it started to buffer like at the very end, but we had a good time. We had great chats. We had great questions and topics brought up from the episode and the promo for next week. So I'll say this much. It wasn't as bad as last week, but it wasn't an overall great episode. But, you know, it had its moments here and there. So we basically pick up where we left off, where Aaron actually comes back into the room and Karen is just not having it. I mean, I had to reanalyze, and I rewatched the scene because when I first watched it, I'm like, man, this heifer lying. So Aaron was like, so what did the doctor say? I'm pregnant. Yeah, I know that, but I mean, well, what else? Based on the timeline, it could be yours. So Aaron actually, you know, is, according to Karen, smirking. What's that for? What? Are you just so upset that it could be my baby? And that's the thing. I had to, you know, step back and like, okay, part of me feels like Karen is lying. Okay, hear me out. Karen said, there's a chance the baby could be yours. So now she is fully aware that she's not 100% sure that Zach is the father. But did she really answer his question? Because what if she said, the doctor said I was barely 4 weeks pregnant? As an audience member, you know, as viewers, we don't know what Aaron's timeline is. We don't know, like, because I feel like Aaron being so confident that his timeline is correct, he probably has, you know, exact numbers and whatnot to a T. What if Karen said barely 4 weeks? Could that solidify Aaron's timeline? Part of me feels like her not saying that is her refusing to go, there's no way Zach could be the father of this child. Again, if she would have said barely 4 weeks, Aaron would have been like, haha, I was right. But then I had to think back to what Aaron said when he even did the timeline to begin with, and the many times he brought it up to Karen. Hey, I know you say it's Zach's child, but according to the timeline, I mean, there's such a narrow gap in time between when you and him had sex and when me and you had sex. There is a chance I could also be the father of this child. It's not just, oh, it's 100% Zach's. It could also be a chance that I'm the father. So I don't want to be talking in circles here, but I just really had to evaluate what Karen said. So I'm wondering, did she not say barely 4 weeks because she knew saying that would sway the pendulum in Aaron's favor? Or did she just say there's a chance you can be the father because she still doesn't want to fully admit that there's no way Zach could be the father? That's the best way to sum up the scene. And to quote Pam, and not to sound like Maurice always calling these women out of their names, she was just a bitter bitch throughout the episode. That's literally the first scene in itself. I mean, he's confident, Aaron is confident that he could be a better father than Zach, and he's like, hey, I know you're broken up about this, but there is another way we can find out for sure who the father of the baby is. And thankfully somebody on Twitter actually pointed this out to me, because I don't know about this stuff, but I'm probably going to say this wrong and I'll do a separate video. But amniocentesis is a procedure used to take out a small sample of the amniotic fluid for testing. This is the fluid that surrounds the fetus in a pregnant woman. The fluid is clear, pale yellow fluid that protects the fetus from injury, and it also protects against infection. I believe this is like a sophisticated method of doing a DNA test on an unborn child. So that could be the method used to guarantee who the father is. But yeah, Karen is just like bitching because she's not, you know, she's no longer confident because the numbers don't add up that Zach is a guaranteed father. So with that being said, you know, I want space, and she doesn't want him to take her back to work, and Aaron's like, come on. It's like, no, I'll get a car to take me back. Look, I'll just carry you back. I won't say a word. Are you sure you won't talk? Yeah. Okay, let's go. That's 2 words, Aaron. This isn't going to work. That was kind of funny / cute, but it's just ridiculous at this point. So they end up leaving the the doctor's office. Outside of Zach's house, Preston calls Danny. She's at work, and he wants to pick up some things he left behind, some boots and jeans. And, she's like, just come on by, later today, whenever I get off work. Oh, no, you can just leave him in a box by the door to get him, because he doesn't want to stop by and see her. He just wants to come and get his stuff. And, oh, can you come by tonight? Actually, I got a date tonight, so what time you go to work tomorrow? 10 a.m. like usual. Okay, well, if you just leave by by the front door in the box, I'll come by at 11, so, that way I don't have to run into you. So, after that, she calls Sabrina for Zach's address in order to chew him out about the Preston thing, and she is all perfect, and mind you, she's on her cell phone, not her work phone. She's all, oh, it's confidential, and then, for some reason, Danny decides to try to blackmail or guilt trip her by mentioning some things from college, including some dude, I forgot his name. And I'm not going to tell you it's on Destin Street, and I'm not going to say the number is 155. So this heifer went into Zach's bank file and gave out his information, his address. It's funny how Jacoby was terminated or put on leave / eventually fired because he punched a customer who had grabbed onto the bank manager. Yet this is like the 5th time that Sabrina has given out confidential information of one of the clients at the bank to people who do not have authorization to know info. Oh, Zach has over $1 million now. Oh, Zach has over 6 figures in the bank. Oh, Zach's address is this. Sabrina needs to be fired immediately. Anyway, that's how Zach's information gets out. So, I will say this. I at least applaud Tyler for addressing, no pun intended, how Danny got Zach's address. Even though, for whatever reason, we have no idea how Andy knew where Zach lived. We have no idea how Karen knew where Zach lived. Hell, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Pam tell Karen where Zach lived or something like that? I don't know. It's just, it makes no sense. I mean, that's the thing about Tyler Perry writing. One moment I will praise him for addressing continuity, like, oh, that's how this character knows something. And then the next scene, it'll be like, yo, but that don't make no sense though. But yeah, I mean, Preston knowing where Zach lives makes sense because, they're, like he said, oh, we've been talking for a while. He probably gave him the address so he can help him move. But that's how Danny got the address to go over to Zach's to chew him out, and I'll get to that scene soon enough. All right. So Andy, after talking with the judge, goes into the room to see Fatima, and the judge isn't budging. There's no chance of bail yet. Apparently, Fatima addresses what happened with Hayden. It was just one night of drunk sex. Apparently, he's very small. And as a man, I'm not going to comment on another man's size. It's just the fact that I'm reciting dialogue directly from the episode. So, Hayden, that one drunk night of sex is what led to all this craziness, all this nonsense. And, don't tell Zach because he's probably on probation. I don't want him to do anything stupid because I know that, like me, he has a switch that when flipped, the crazy goes on, and I don't want him to go in jail. So basically, she does tell Andy that Zach just got arrested, but does not say why. So the Heather Lee Jennings thing is still up in the air. Andy doesn't know about it. So Andy will get in contact with Robin to see if there's anything that could happen, and if that can't work, then she'll try to motion to get the judge removed, because remember in the last episode she said this judge is very non-violent, and based on the Fatima situation, she ain't getting out of jail anytime soon. Alright, so now we go over to the salon, and Aaron parks his car. Can I talk now? And then he pretty much just goes into just usual simp mode. But Karen is like, you know what, Aaron, I'm sorry for ever sleeping with you, and I'm sorry how that affected you. And it's like, when I listen to Karen in this episode, it really feels like the Karen that was tearing down Zach in season 1. That's the Karen I was getting. You know, the fact where no matter what Zach said or did, even if he was just trying to have a calm conversation, Karen would just, she wasn't having it. Even if he was making sense, she was not having it. And to be so arrogant as to say, you know what, I'm sorry for sleeping with you because I didn't know it would have this kind of effect on you. I mean, you're the one that had sex with him because you were still hung up on Zach and Fatima. You were so upset about that you just wanted to get underneath another man to try to get your mind off it. And remember, that's why Aaron split in the middle of the night, because he revealed one of the reasons, the main reason I left is because I could hear you whispering Zach while, you know, we were having sex. So for her to just have that level of arrogance is just ridiculous. But then I'm on like, okay, Karen, I understand where you're coming from, when Aaron is like, well, what is it I'm doing wrong? And I can give you space and yada yada. The thing is, Aaron, and I'll just leave it at this. It's the fact that you say you'll give Karen space when she asks you for it. And don't get me wrong, what was it? The scene in the locker room where, you know, hey, I just came. Let me take you to the back. I'll rub your feet and then we could talk. It was that scene where she's like, I need to be single right now to figure things out. I need you to give me some space, but then I also need you to be here for me. So it was confusing. But at the same time, not just that scene, but just in general, like, you know, even season 3 and somewhat of season 2, Aaron doesn't understand boundaries. And I will admit, this is one of the things about Preston, like, you know, the whole coming over unannounced and whatnot. Aaron does the same crap. Oh, Karen, don't worry, I'll give you space and I'll wait for you to call me. But the next thing you know, he's always sending the flowers. He pops up unannounced at the salon or at Karen's apartment talking about ice cream, or I bring you Chinese, we could watch a movie. And it's like, Aaron, she literally said I need space and you're not even giving her 12 hours to breathe. So you need to back off. So she ends up getting out the car. It's like, we'll talk soon. And he's like, yeah, yes, we will. And then he leaves. So there's that. She gets into the salon and Pam lets her know, hey girl, you were gone a long time and you got some mad customers. 2 of them left, and she said she'd call them back. Because remember, the doctor's appointment took longer than expected, because remember, the doctor was like, well, if you want to get tested to see how far along you are, that will take a while. And Aaron was like, oh, we can wait, right, Karen? Show. So basically, yeah, you know, some clients were obviously not happy that their you know, beautician was gone for so long. But she just snaps on Pam, and, you know, to be, yes, I know Pam has a rep for being nosy, but you can tell the difference between when Pam is nosy versus she's concerned. Because, like, look, I'm gonna tell you, it's like, everybody around here notices you've been acting pretty bitchy and whatnot, so I just wanted to see what's going on. And she literally snaps on Pam like twice, to the point where even the customers in the background, if you rewatch the scene and notice the extras in the background, you can just see them like gasping. Their facial reactions tell it all, because Karen just went off on Pam. And it's like, you should remember, look, don't get me wrong, like I just said, Pam can cross boundaries too many times. She's done it too many times, but I honestly feel like she's genuinely concerned. But Karen doesn't want to hear it. Regardless, she just snap on everybody. Karen needs to realize Pam is the reason she's still in business. What was his name? Isaiah or something like that. Basically, the one employee that left and then took a bunch of the clientele with him. Pam was the one that called like the health department or something like that, and got him shut down, bringing back customers to Karen's shop. So again, I'm not saying that means Pam is justified to be nosy, but she is concerned. So Karen, that was just uncalled for. All right. So Gary calls Hayden and basically asks about Robin, and Hayden, you know, hasn't seen him around. And it's like, wait a minute, but he works over, you know, in London and whatnot, so why would he even be around? And then Gary was like, see, I knew she lied to me about him being back. And from there, Hayden brags about having Fatima arrested. And I love how Gary's like, wait, but does Zach know about it? nah, he doesn't know yet, but I'm here waiting on his ass. So basically, Gary already knows Zach is going to be pissed and then assumes that Zach is going to come after Hayden, but Hayden is waiting for him. So after they get off the phone, of course, Hayden's like, look, I'll keep my eye open for Robin. If he's around, I'll let you know. So Jake comes into Gary's office, and turns out that Jake is team Zach, and the fact that, Gary's like, so what's the word? And I don't know, man. It seems like Zach legit. He knows his stuff about the stocks, and I don't even think the FCC is going to bother him. And even if they do, he's going to know his stuff. So it seems like Jake is, playing both sides in the sense that he doesn't inform Gary that, hey, Zach is actually a con. He did stuff illegal. But remember, he didn't even say that I was the one that taught him FCC stuff. No, or stock information stuff. No, Jake is protecting Zach. So after Gary finishes up and leaves, Jake actually gets on the phone and leaves a voicemail for Zach to call him back as soon as possible. Now, whether or not that's in regards to the Fatima thing, because Gary actually told Jake that Hayden had Fatima arrested, I don't know if Jake was going to tell Zach that Fatima got arrested, or if he was going to bring up stuff about the stock market. So moving on to the next scene. Andy arrives back at the law firm from the jail, and Hayden talks to her about how he knows that she talks to the judge, and his plan is basically to make Fatima, and the ex-con Zach, miserable. So basically, the partners meeting is coming later today, and Andy is confident that Fatima won't get fired. But the thing is, she even mentions, hey, if Fatima gets fired, I walk. And Hayden's like, when she brings up the idea, he's like, hey, I'm not quitting either. So Andy says, well, money's king, and I'm bringing a lot more money to this firm than you do, Hayden. And I'm just thinking, like, while true, I need to do a separate video on this as well. It was during season 1 where Morris was actually trying to, get with Andy and whatnot, and he basically explained, like, Andy, you're talented and whatnot, and you're smart, but that's not why you've made it this far in the law field. It's because of how you look. The board made up all these men. How you show some cleavage in the courtroom. Oh, that's the kind of stuff that leads to you winning these cases. It's not because of your abilities as an attorney. So I need to go back and rewatch that scene, because I feel like it really defines the world that Andy's in. And to be completely honest, when Hayden called her out for sleeping with Robin, I'm like, that was a low blow. But then again, I feel like it struck this it hit the foundation that Andy was trying to stand firm on when clashing swords with Hayden, because despite being so confident in her abilities, oh yeah, I have a voice that people listen to. I bring in a lot more to this firm than you do financially. And Hayden's like, well, hey, I have my own expertise. But the thing is, I think because he brought up the whole sex with Robin, that solidified even more what Morris told her about how, because you're a woman and the way you look and whatnot, that's the reason, you have some form of sway in the office. I think that's true. It's kind of like, when Gary or even Karen mentions, Andy being materialistic, but then she says she's not, but then she's blown away by the extravagant gifts and whatnot that Gary buys for her. That really just shows you Andy is, and I hate to say it, Andy really isn't as strong and confident as she makes herself out to be. Sure, she said before to Karen, like, I wish I could be as strong as you are, to walk away from things and people and not look back like you do, prior to the whole going crazy over Zach thing. But I feel like Andy, it's easy to strike a nerve with her. But, after that, she walks away. Now, I'll skip the Danny thing, because I want to talk about, from when she walks into the house to when she leaves, all in one thing, okay? So, over at the bank, Sabrina and Maurice are closing shop. Maurice says he's going home because he finished his job early, but then decides to actually stay and wait for Sabrina to finish up as well, because, in the off chance Q comes back. I don't want to harp on this. You all know I hate this shit. And Maurice is like, oh, you're only asking if I'm going home, not because of the Q stuff, but because you want to know about Calvin. And it's like, I'm not going to, one minute you tell her to focus on Mr. $36 million and forget about Calvin. But then the next moment, Maurice is like, so when are you going to talk to Calvin? Why? So, moving forward to when, he actually does get home, he walks in on Q and Calvin having dinner. Apparently, oh yeah, your man was sitting on the steps, so I let him up. He came up and made dinner. So we're just having a nice conversation. I'm not going to rant. Apparently, he made Maurice's favorite meal. Somebody in the live chat was like, Jeremy, that steak looked dry and that macaroni looked messy as hell. But in any case, this is a prime mistake Tyler Perry makes. Somebody even messaged me like, Jeremy, before Q even fully told his story, I already knew what it was going to be, because Tyler Perry has the same sob story for these characters. Apparently, when he was 3 years old, his mother's boyfriend would come into his room and sexually abuse him, and he didn't know at the time it wasn't normal until he got older. And when he told his mom about it, she didn't believe him. Why the fuck do you try to give a character a sob story after they've done some unforgivable, horrendous things? This is the equivalent of the Oval season 2, where at that point, Jason decapitated Denise. He had, raped and murdered Jean, strangled his own grandmother, and then when he gets back to the White House, and then his Victoria's like, how did you turn into this monster? It's because you never gave me and Gail love. What? Don't get me wrong, that is a compelling story about how he turned out the way he was, but that's the kind of story stuff you give a character if they did something that's, not on the level of freaking rape and murder. And at that point, the bodies were piling up for Jason. You can't try to make a character sympathetic when they've done some irredeemable things. It just makes no sense. In the early season of the Haves and the Have-Nots, with Wyatt being the drunk in the attic and, little Lizzie and all this stuff, and then it turns out he became an addict and whatnot after, the whole Bible camp, and then the priest touching him and Amanda when they were younger, and Jim not showing up because he was having an affair with, who was it, Celine at the time, I believe. And that's the reason Wyatt went down that road of an addict. That actually made sense. Not to mention that happened not long after his sister had died. I think maybe that same, the day of. Yeah. So that made sense. But with Tyler Perry, you literally had Q steal Calvin's, bank book and whatnot, and then ruin his accounts. And then you had Maurice being held at gunpoint and he attempted to rob a bank. Now you're having him in these people's apartment, casually having dinner, and then you want to try to give him a sob story. I mean, Calvin even called this dude out several episodes ago. It's like, yeah, we all got stories, but that doesn't mean we all rob banks. And now all of a sudden, you know what? I think I'm okay with him staying here. Moving on. All right. So, yeah, the last couple things to talk about here. So Danny just, without knocking, just barges into Zach's home. And as I did the video yesterday in the pose, she pissed me off in this episode. However, here's the thing. Danny didn't piss me off as much as I thought, only because Zach was able to stand his ground. And the reason so is he had clapbacks for everything, and I loved it. Because this heifer is just a prime example of she can give advice, she could dish it out, but she can't take it. This is... And I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to be mean, but Danny comes across as Monique in that, hello, my loves. Let me ask you a couple questions, Zach. Number one, baby, are you doing anything illegal? Because I don't want you to get into trouble and lose everything you've built, and then you wind up behind bars again. I'm telling you this with love because I'm your sister. Please do not be doing anything illegal. Please, because Karen told me that there was this woman showing up at the salon asking questions. And then Zach was like, hey, I did get arrested. It turned out to be a mistake and it got cleared up. Okay. Then number two. Here's the second reason I've come over. And this is the real thing. It's about Preston. Are you the one hooking him up with these other sisters? Because one time he was at the salon. And then the next time he was at one of my favorite restaurants. And I know that your black sister was not betrayed by you, my black brother, because you hooked him up with other women. And Zach's whole thing, this entire conversation is, I don't know what you're talking about. So, from there, she tries to throw it in his face like, I know you're not the jailbird, the ex-con, the one who brought STDs, the one who cheated on Karen. I know you're not trying to be a Steve Harvey and give it dating and relationship advice. But thank God he had the clapbacks, because even DeVal called this out on Twitter at times, like when Danny would tell Karen, remember everything he's ever done to you. But it's like, but what about Karen? Like she did stuff too, because she was like, oh, what about you and all the stuff you did to Karen? But it's like, oh no, so I'm the one that did stuff. I was the only one who was foul when me and Karen were together. That's why I didn't hate the scene, because Zach was able to have the quips and the comebacks. So basically from there, he kind of puts in her face like, look, I'm with a much better woman now, and I'm in a much better position. In my brand new condo. This fool was up here announcing his new residential status like he was on The Price is Right. I ain't gonna lie, the way he was excited when he eventually decided to show Danny around about, hey, welcome to the kitchen and this is my island. When and if I ever get a home, this is going to be my entire attitude, because it's a long time coming. And well, next Monday is June 20th. June 20th will be an official year since I moved back home from the apartment. So trust and believe, I will be happy as a clam when I finally get a home. But regardless, the core of this conversation that Danny doesn't want to hear, Zach simply asked the question, why are you giving this dude a hard time? Why are you giving Preston such a hard time? You need to just tell him how you feel, because you're going to risk losing Preston. So essentially, Danny straight up said, and look, Danny actually Mignon actually retweeted one of my tweets from last night. I haven't gotten a response from her yet, but let me put it this way. Preston, or Trinity, he liked a bunch of my tweets and retweeted it. I think because he retweeted the tweet, that's how Mignon got into the conversation as well. But if I can find it, I actually just said, I can find it right now. I'll do a separate video on it, but I wanted to point this out. And here's what I said. Okay, so Danny would rather risk losing Preston in order to be in the streets than to confess how she really feels about him, aka be in the streets as in date other men. Then if he does go out with other women, she will go out of her way to be disrespectful and sabotage him. Let that sink in. And Mignon was like, no, Danny would rather risk losing Preston if that means gaining herself. I know our love-addicted, codependent society doesn't ship that, but self-love first. That doesn't make sense. But in any case, she's like, oh, well, if Preston's out here dating other women, then I'll just date other men. But the thing is, you were messing around and sleeping with other men while you and Preston were, quote unquote, unofficially seeing each other. He caught you with the butt licker from the butt licking bartender from the gay bar, as well as El Fuego, the stripper, or the male exotic dancer. Pick your poison. And I mean, so it's just ridiculous. And it's hard. It makes it hard to believe that these women are in their mid to late 30s. So I don't know. But essentially, Zach gives her the tour of the house. And after that, she's like, you know what? I am happy for you and everything. And she actually asked about Karen. And he knows that she's just here probing for information, because I think it's yours, Zach. And I think you know it's yours too. But then his clapback is, yeah, but she was also messing around with the preacher man. Danny got a little quiet after that. But then he just says, look, I'll be here for the kid if it is mine. And from there, so you really not feeling and you're really not thinking about Karen? Danny, why are you doing this crap? You know this chick came over to your house yesterday acting all crazy. And I mean, isn't that the reason you told Andy there needs to be a girls meeting tonight to talk about Karen? So he's like, look, I love her, but I'm done. And I'm just thinking, Zach, I know you've told that to Karen's face, and even in the last episode, or not the last episode, but when Karen was over at Danny's place, but he said he loves me. You know Danny's going to tell her ass that, you know, he said he loved you, but he's done. He's moved on. But he did say he loved me. That's the kind of shit Karen does not need to hear right now, and Danny's going to tell her. So from there, that's it. You know, he did bring up the butt liquor, and then Danny leaves. So then the final scene is Zach showing up at the law firm. Fatima's not there. Andy actually tries to, you know, get him like, hey, come with me, let's talk. But then Hayden shows up from the stairwell, and, you know, him and Zach, the preview just spoiled it all. You know, the fact that he mentions jail. Zach is like, wait, what? And then Andy's like, hey, let's walk, let's talk, let's breathe. No, tell me right here. And then, you know, when he's singing his song, he rushes over and punches him. I mean, he grabs him. That's the end of the episode. So, yeah, better than last week, but not spectacular. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with my score of a 7 out of 10? Hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.